Hey, what's going on, friends? My podcast every day is broken up into two parts on the free platform. The first part, Act 1, is right now. When it's all done, go right on over to Act 2 to get the second half of the podcast. Thank you so much for checking out my show. Hello to you and welcome to the Eric Zane Show podcast. It's a daily show where we discuss news, nonsense, and my personal adventures from right here in the Impact Power Sports studio. More on them in a second. It's important to get right to the news, and that is Ben Glaze is not sure about how ice works. And it's just another high point moment for Ben Glaze. You know, you'll just have these flashes of incredible... Yeah, you have like incredible moments and flashes of brilliance. And when I say brilliance, I mean it's brilliant how entertaining it is to hear someone exude something so ridiculous. And it comes to us because it's so debilitatingly cold. And so during the Ben and Eric Patreon podcast yesterday, Ben said, "My God, this is something else. It's going to be really cold tomorrow. I might not go to work. I might not be able to get to work." And now I had heard about it being cold, but like right now it's sunny out. There's not like any moisture falling. There's no snow, and I'm like, so what would keep you from going to work? This all happened on the Ben and Eric Patreon podcast, but I wanted to kind of rehash it here on my own. He goes, well, the roads are going to be frozen. I go, well, they've been frozen for weeks. Yeah, but they weren't frozen when I went to work the other day. They were slushy. I go, well, they weren't slushy. They may have been snow covered, but it wasn't. I could tell the message wasn't getting through. It wasn't like his eye. He thought that it was just gonna that. And I go, well, you understand though that if it's under 32 degrees, it's gonna freeze. Now, if you treat the roads, yeah, I mean it turns to slush. But it's been so cold that they don't even treat the roads. It's pointless because those chemicals only work to a certain point that they put on the roads. And it's been so goddamn cold. And now it's twice as cold now than it has been. So in his brain, the roads were dry and not frozen. And then when the temperature drops, they somehow freeze. And we were all like, what? What are you talking about? What's going on in that noggin of yours? Amanda says, don't they use sand instead? They do. They do use sand. But for whatever reason, Ben had it. He was convinced that if the temperature is what it is now, which is 0 or less right now, it's -2 right now where I am. And he's like, well, that's gonna mess everything up. Yeah, I don't think it is. I don't think it's going to be any different for you today than it was any other day of the week. He checks in after getting to work fine. He says the roads were not icier than yesterday. LOL. Well, no, they weren't. It's the same goddamn road. Nothing's changed. It's a few degrees colder. Maureen makes the point, in case anyone was confused, ice like frozen water, not federal agents going around killing people. By the way, did you see that one guy, the ICE agent, who they were going somewhere in Minnesota to get, somewhere in Minneapolis to get a guy who actually was into kids. He was a kid toucher, which, there are a lot of people that they are bringing out of the country who are, in fact, criminals. A lot of people lose sight of that. So in those moments, definitely doing the Lord's work. Now, in my opinion, if Ice Guy goes in and there's a guy there who's 84 years old and he's in a wheelchair and he's like, Senor, I love everyone. And he's lived a good life and he's raised kids and he's sweet and kind. And then they go, fuck you. And they flip him out of the chair and then they take him to the detention center in El Salvador. I don't like that. I can't get behind that. Okay. And then Becca Shea says, like, criminals like that 5-year-old. Yeah, I don't know about that, but I don't doubt it. I'm sure it happened where a 5-year-old was probably like, just like, hey, Mr. Ice Guy, I love everybody. I'm just a 5-year-old. Fuck you. And then they, throw him out of the country. That's happening all over the place right now. And that is just fucking awful. I cannot believe that. Bob says the video of them taking down the furry is hilarious. Yeah, that was the guy who had a fox's head on, like a mascot. If he was the mascot for the Fighting Foxes or something, and he was dancing while wearing the fox head, and then these ICE agents said, "Fuck that, let's go kick his ass," and then they did. That's the thing. You might think that you can. Normal law enforcement, they're probably not going to get away with kicking your ass for dancing. Okay. But ICE, they will fuck you up. You don't want to be fucking around with these idiots. Black Belt Nick says, do you mean the 5-year-old that was abandoned by the dad when they went to arrest him? And they kept safe instead of alone. Okay, so now we have conflicting reports. Becca Shea says that the 5-year-old was a criminal, like she's saying that antagonistically. She says, criminals like the 5-year-old? And I'm like, oh, wow, they kick him out? But now I'm getting other comments that are adding a little bit more info to this. So I guess the ball's back in Becca Shea's court after Nick says, no, you're getting that wrong. And then follow up from Bob, who says, yeah, the 5-year-old that was abandoned by his illegal father. And then Alan says they literally just detained the child because his piece of shit father left him behind. So is the suggestion then that they were like, all right, we got to put this kid in a safe spot while we sort the dad thing out? Because Becca Shea made it sound like, they treated him like a criminal. So, I mean, again, this is the first I've heard of this. And that's usually how the chat goes. You get, my hair. Oh, my God. You get one half of the room being like, yeah, they locked up a 5-year-old. And then the other half of the room is like, no, that's not what happened at all. Anyway, there was a video of Ice Guy who rolls up to person. You know how ICE is going to various places and then these local watchdog groups will honk their horns to warn the people that they are trying to capture that ICE is coming. There was one in particular where the ICE guy rolls up and there's the guy honking his horn and he says, look, and he levels with them. He was a black guy. And he says, look, you're making all sorts of noise. And the guy we're going to get right now is a child molester. Can we just go get the child molester and you stop doing this while we're getting the child molester? Now, I don't fault the local activists for laying on the horns, okay? Because they don't know that the ICE guy is going to get a child molester. And I would probably, if you're getting ready to start the day for the ICE watchdog team to honk your horn, I'm guessing that those people aren't interested and help being on the side of the child molester. If there was a way for the sides to communicate. Because I'm guessing that the ones that are laying on the horns, they're probably not interested in, offering assistance to a child molester. Megan says, Fox News, the kid was not abandoned by his father. His father was detained. So more information. The kid went with his dad to the ICE center. And then she said, never make me look at Fox News again. All right. So now we have 3 comments on this. And it's like a moving target, it seems. Criminals like that 5-year-old. You mean the 5-year-old abandoned by the dad? And then, so there's 3 comments about the kid being abandoned. But Megan says, according to Fox News, the kid was not abandoned by dad. Dad was detained. The kid went with dad to the ICE center. Okay, so I think the dad was not a piece of shit. He didn't abandon the kid. And the kid is not being looked at as a criminal. So you're all wrong. In this particular case, Megan seems to have the information down. I don't know. I mean, it makes the most sense with what she was telling us. It's a damn good thing she did that, because everybody else on here, you're all trying to start fights with each other. David says the chat is a disaster today. Disagree. The chat is outstanding as always, and I'm glad you and everyone else is in it. Rebecca says the problem is that ICE is not operating with any sort of transparency. If they were actually going for the violent criminals, fine. But that's not what they're doing, and the profiling is disgusting. They're going after citizens who are here legally. Well, those are orders from the top, and I disagree. It is transparent. It's because we all know what's happening. What you just said is probably all accurate. They are with the profiling and all that. That's the easiest way for them to get to their goal. Becca Shea says transparently racist. Yeah, and I agree with you that what they're doing is like, oh, okay, well, that guy's brown. Well, let's go ask him if he's here legally. And, okay, look, I know what you mean, that it sounds that it's racist and it's in it, but it isn't. It is transparent. But, I mean, let's be honest here. If you want to get the job done as quickly as possible, let's say you or someone you know or love is an ICE agent, and the people who you're trying to get out of the country are brown, but you still want to uphold the law, and that is get people who came into the U.S. illegally. Now, this is going to make incredible sense to you, but you're not going to like it. Your job is to get people that entered the country illegally out of the country. As much as I hate it, as much as you hate it, that is the law. And so they're doing this as quickly as possible by just rounding everybody up. Criminal, non-criminal, young, old, male, female, wheelchair, walker, you name it. And as much as it's awful, it is awful to walk around and say, hey, you're brown, let me see your ID. I want to make sure you're here legally. It's kind of efficient if you think about it. Like if all of the people that were in the country illegally who are brown suddenly got vitiligo and turned white, ICE would not be able to do it. They'd be like, what the fuck? Where are they? So this is horrible. This is absolutely awful. But if let's say because of my big fucking nose and in the summertime, my brown skin, an ICE guy goes, hey, where are you from? Let me see your ID. All I'm going to do is say, here you go, buddy. And just give it to him and be on my way. That's what I would do. I'm not going to kick. I'm not going to scream. Stevie says they're only going after brown-skinned people. Yes, that's true. But I take it back. There were a lot of stories about Europeans who came from countries in Europe or maybe like Yugoslavia or Bosnia so that's not entirely true. I would say that it's the simplest way or the quickest way to get that job done, the job of, all right, we want everybody who's not supposed to be here out. Now, when you say it like that, I want everybody who is not supposed to be in here out. You may think, oh, well, that's just the most horrible thing in the world. But if you go back to other presidencies that are Democratic, that's the same rule. Like these rules that are being enforced, they weren't put in place by Trump. Okay, the law was made during other presidential terms that weren't Republican. So it's just now the law that had been in place back then is just being enforced. That is the only thing that's happening here. And I know it's very easy to say that this all happening is the end of times and is the start of a genocide, or it's Hitler revisited. I really don't believe that at all. I think that that's kind of going way too far on how you think this is going to turn out. Does it seem racist? Yes. But I want you to take a step back from that. I want you to try to understand, though, that these are laws that have been on the books for a long time. And as much as I hate it, you hate it, it's kind of what got the guy elected in the first place. So whether you like it or not, most of America supports this. Like more than 50% supports this. Anybody who voted for Trump is supporting this. And most, since he won, I mean, you got to, what the hell? And take this to note. This is what he said he was going to do. Now, now you don't like it. I don't like it. But when was the last time a president was elected and actually did what he said he was going to do? Stevie says, support killing people in the streets. Come on. Oh, I know. And you're referring to Renee Good there, who got shot and killed. But that's not the norm. I mean, every day there aren't people being murdered on the street. There isn't like mass casualty events happening. So as much as that particular moment was one of the most awful things you could ever possibly have happen or see, understand that is an isolated incident based on circumstance, in my opinion. Drives a car, cop thinks he's getting run over, the cop pulls out the gun, boom, that's that. All right. Rebecca says, my grandparents were here legally from the Netherlands, but they had thick accents. They would not have been targeted, though, because they were right. I don't know that, and I don't know how you know that. Rebecca says, the irony is the 34 felony count president gets to do this. Cole says, 34 felony convictions, no prison time, because they are fake-ass talking point charges that the Democrats thought would prevent him from getting elected. I don't know. IMKO says, I feel for these folks. One administration brings them in or makes it insanely easy to come in on the promise of a better life. Is that right? The next kicks them out on their ass, and everyone else takes a side, not realizing that everyone sucks. I don't know if it's that simple. Piano Finger Banger says the problem is they are arresting and detaining people off the street, even U.S. citizens. Okay, what do you mean by that? Are you telling me that it's possible that someone could walk up to you and say, papers, and then you prove who you are, and they go, we don't care. We are arresting you. I haven't heard of that. I've heard of people who when they say papers, and then like they go, I don't have to show you nothing. It's my right. I'm not showing you anything. I'm here legally. All right, well, prove it. Just show me your ID. It's all you got to do. And then they get pissed off, and then they resist, and then they're arrested. Now, that's not being arrested because you're a U.S. citizen. That's different. I would argue that if 100 people were approached by dickhead ICE agents, who are mostly jackasses, or it seemed like it, I don't know, and if they all said to 100 of these people, prove that you're an American, and they all did, that none of those people would be arrested. I do not believe that legal U.S. citizens who do what they are asked to do would have a problem. I don't believe that. Megan says he also ran on releasing the Epstein files, but here we are loving and protecting the pedos, which, honestly, if you see Trump in the wild, make sure someone gets audio and video of you calling him a pedophile protector. And then you need to make sure that you get in trouble so that somebody gets a GoFundMe going and you can capitalize on that shit. I absolutely would do that. So when I see the president and I go, hey, you pedophile protector, fuck you. And then it gets posted and he gives me the finger, tells me to go fuck myself. And then I announce that I've been fired from the Eric Zane Show podcast, or I've been suspended from the Eric Zane Show podcast. And then I'm going to make my own GoFundMe and then ride off into the sunset. And when people say, what are you going to do with that money? I say, I'm going to spend it. I'm going to use it on myself. Stevie says they've gone too far. Time to abolish ICE. Becca Shea says, and Keith Porter and others. I don't know that name. Probably a victim of some horrible incident. Becca says they are not following constitutional law. Every single person in this country, legal or not, is entitled to the legal process. Well, I don't think that if that is going to happen, it's going to have to be after the fact. I think that the way Trump operates, which isn't exactly by the book, you think about, if they are by the book, they're the by the book moments where like several constitutional lawyers have to go and discuss it and figure out if it's actually legal. And if it's not legal, like let's say Trump does something that's actually not legal according to the Constitution, he basically shrugs and says, oh, well, deal with it. So that's kind of how it is now. Also, Rebecca points out, just because it's the law doesn't make it right. The laws in Nazi Germany didn't protect the soldiers and leaders from prosecution. Yeah, I understand that. But that's now we're kind of getting back to Godwin's law there, which everything goes back to Hitler and the Nazis. I don't know if it's fair to equate getting people who are in the country illegally to leave the country in any type of comparison to actual genocide of human beings. That's not fair, in my opinion. Piano Fingerbanger says, even people that are here undocumented are not criminals. That isn't a crime. It's a civil matter, and they are entitled to due process the same as all of us are. Exactly. 100%. Becky Shea says they've been taking people out of courthouses that were there trying to get their papers. Make it make sense. Well, that's called low-hanging fruit. And that's the same thing that I was talking about, how ICE is like, all right, let's get some brown-faced people the fuck out of here. That's what they're doing. It's low-hanging fruit. It's easy for them. They hang out at courthouses. Right now, how you go to a airport and there's like a muster zone where all the Ubers are? That's what they're doing at courthouses. They're like lined up, ready to go. And so you get some little old lady there. There was just a moment yesterday at the courthouse here. 79-year-old lady walked up to get her documentation. And right when she was right in line, right in the front. And the clerk was like, here, mamacita, let me give you your papers. And right when she was handing them to the 79-year-old lady, which all she wanted to do was go home and make piñatas. She was a local manufacturer of piñatas, and she had a whole order of piñatas to be made. But she knew she had to get her papers because they weren't in order, so she goes to get the papers. And they hand her the papers to the 79-year-old piñata maker, and then all of a sudden, ICE guy comes in. He goes, "Fuck your papers!" And he grabs him, grabs her, and he throws her down to the ground. The walker goes flying, and she's screaming. There's video of this on my website, and then they cuff her, and they drag her out of there. The next thing you know, there's video of her standing on the tarmac at the Ford airport, and she's army crawling with her hands behind her back up the ramp of a C-130 transport. They kind of rolled her to the side and chained her to the floor, and that's it. She's headed off to the El Salvador prison. So what you said is absolutely true. Horrific. How can you actually sleep when you snatch a 79-year-old piñata maker who is in here illegally? She's just about to get her papers, and then they do that to you. Amanda's here. Now, Amanda's 99 times out of 100 wrong in all of these types of discussion that involve brain power. She writes a little more research on how to get into a country, but I'm taking a wild guess here, to say that immigrants want to come. They need to apply for a visa when they're outside of the country. That gets them in the country, and then they can apply for status. So if you don't have a visa, that's why you're getting kicked out. I don't know. I have no idea. Stevie says it's awful. We're glorifying pedos by protecting them and shooting people in the streets. I hate it here. Well, I get it. I don't know of any pedos who are glorified. Hey, this is Eric Zane, and your information is being sold online. You know, the personal stuff. Search your own name. It's surprising what's out there. That's because people are taking your information and they're selling it. I've got a way to make all of your personal information disappear. You are not for sale. Whether you agreed to it or not, that information is available for people to buy and sell. Not okay. It's 100% true. Data brokers make billions selling your private details, and you get nothing. You don't even get a choice. Aura lets you fight back. AURA. They remove your personal data from broker sites and keep it off. Aura also alerts you fast if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura is more than just data broker removal. It's a full digital security suite that protects every part of your life online. Aura gives you a VPN to stay private, antivirus to block threats, a password manager to keep logging login safe and spam call protection to cut off the scammers. Aura also scans the dark web for your most sensitive info like your social security number, bank logins, and passwords, and notifies you instantly if they are exposed. And if your identity is ever stolen, you're backed up by up to $5 million in insurance and 24/7 U.S.-based fraud support to help you recover quickly. And right now, you can try Aura free for 14 days when you visit aura.com/remove. AURA.com/remove. That's enough time for Aura to start removing your personal information from data broker sites. Sign up today at aura.com/remove and get the peace of mind that your privacy, identity, and finances are safeguarded. AURA.com/remove. Certain terms apply. See the site for details. We had a moment where we were talking about Amanda's grandpa. Is that what you're referring to? Amanda's child-loving grandpa? Which pedophile are we glorifying there? I think you might be kind of wrapping up that comment into like anger and shooting people in the streets. I think that one person was shot that I know of, maybe two. There haven't been a lot of people that have been shot. The Fourth Amendment protects U.S. citizens from the need to show proof. There you go. Bread Bull Brain Chris. Now, I trust him. I don't trust any of you except Bread Bull Brain Chris. Stevie says, whatever happened to land of the free? This is bullshit. Well, I think what they're doing now is land of the free, like if you're supposed to be here. Kuiper says the fact that everybody thought those files would be released is actually funny. I don't think it's funny. I think it's awful. They should release those files. Amanda is talking about her grandpa, who she had she said, I'm pretty sure I wasn't glorifying him. What he did was absolutely wrong. Okay, so Amanda's grandpa loves kids, and she would show a picture and say, here he is with children. I love him forever. Then she says, what I was saying is that he did his time and he knew what he did wrong and he learned his lesson. That's what that's for. Well, I might have embellished some of it. I mean, come on now. Megan says it was gross that we were playing show and tell with family photos of a stranger that did disgusting things. Everything about that was awful. Yeah, tell me about it. Megan 100% disagrees with Amanda and says, you sure as shit were glorifying him. We don't do show and tell with photos like that. It was so off. And then Linda said, but you also hold a grudge against your sister for protecting her kids from him, Amanda. So I think what's happening here is it seems like if Amanda was at the Ford auto plant, all right, and she's walking around, and Megan was working there with Stevie and Linda, they would look up at her and say, hey, fuck you, pedo protector. And then Amanda would do a Jimmy Superfly Snuka from that podium and smash them to the ground. She would be so upset about that. That's what's happening right here. Because if you missed it, it was an unbelievable moment. Amanda was eulogizing her beloved grandpa, and Ben and I were making horrible jokes about this guy being a pedophile. That's what happened. There's in every picture, it was just weird with looking at it through the lens of him he wasn't convicted of being a pedophile, but he liked looking at bad pictures. Okay. Piano Fingerbanger says, let's just say all these people that they've been detaining are in fact here undocumented. Who gives a fuck? Exactly. They are here doing jobs no one else wants to do and contributing to society. We should have a straightforward process for them to get visas or green cards, but the whole system is a clusterfuck. Trump has 100% bypassed all of the possibilities of having the righteous people that are here undocumented or illegal and utilizing them for their skills and the good things that they bring to America. If you have 100,000 people that are undocumented, 98% of those people are good, law-abiding citizens who've worked very hard to build lives. Sure, they're in here illegally, but that should not be the big deal that it is. That should be, okay, you weren't supposed to do that, but we're going to correct that, okay? And this is what you need to do that. That is the Eric Zane Day One presidency immigrant amnesty program. Okay, these are unbelievable contributors to society who some have worked in backbreaking fields and spending a tremendous amount of time and energy working jobs that they got really great at and were labor intensive. Others went the route of getting an education and being outstanding in their fields. That has been my take from day one. The problem is nobody in the administration is willing to do the legwork to determine who is who and what is what, to be able to have an amnesty program for the productive members of our society and get rid of the problems. All right? Rebecca says, listen, if I hear one more person say kids today don't want to work while also violently removing the folks who will do the work, I'm going to lose my shit. Oh, yeah. Ridiculous. New chatter. AJEND2 says, LOL, illegals cost us $450 billion annually and can tell we live far from the southern border. Yeah, I'm not sure what that means, nor am I sure about that statistic. I don't know. I mean, you're throwing a number in a throwaway comment on here. You're going to need, if you want to participate in the chat, I really want you to make sure you write correctly so that I can read it appropriately. But and then says Google it. Look, you seem angry and confrontational, and I don't want to do that. And you're not going to tell me to Google anything. I'm not going to Google anything. I'm going to sit here for 2 hours a day, and I'm going to talk and try to make sense of the world. But if you're going to come in here and throw something out and then say Google it, go fuck yourself. You Google it and come together and come up with a point of view that's concise and thorough and that we can, kick around here. IMKO is here. Says there's some pretty dumb shit being said in here. Challenge your biases and get outside of your information bubble. Piano Fingerbanger says that other comment. Source, trust me, bro. Yeah, I don't do trust me, bro. You're right, Piano Fingerbanger. This is bullshit. Joe Martinez is here via my phone. Joe, I don't know if you know this, but you have, for all your years being part of Twitch, have compiled a number of chat points somewhere on your end. You can redeem points. Since you've been with us for so long, it's probably several 100,000 points. You can redeem those points if you scroll back to like IMKO here. He redeemed 350 points and made his comment. You can actually make comments on the chat. But I'll definitely read this. The only reason why I'm reading this is because Joe's a Mexican. And he's pissed off. He wrote, fuck him and fuck all the MAGA white assholes. You know what I'm interested in? Because when Trump won, he had a large number of Latino voters, Latina people who have their heritage going somewhere south of the border, who voted for him. And then now that this happens, what is the mindset of people who voted for them? Are they saying, yeah, fuck yeah, get him out of here? Bread Bull Brain Chris says, you're making that up. Joe is MAGA all the way. I don't think he is. Megan is addressing more of Amanda, saying, here's my child-loving grandpa, which did happen. She writes, it's a weird place to bring shit up for empathy. You held up pics while laughing that someone said he had a boner in pics with kids. That was me that said that. How would that signal that anyone should give empathy? Seems like you were open to people taking digs at your grandpa. That's not empathetic to your mom. Scott says Trump has deported 140,000 since April 25. Obama, 2.7 million from 2009 to 2016. Okay, I don't know if that's true, but let's just assume it is. If that's true, doesn't that mean anything? Does that make this easier to process? That a Democratic president deported 2.7 million people. Becca Shea says Obama did not send idiots into the street just to get all the brown people. Okay, yeah, if there was a way to maybe capture what Obama did, I mean, how was he able to get 2.7 million people off of the street without doing it the way ICE did it? I'm curious about that. Rebecca says to Scott, the difference is the manner in which it's happening. Trump is proud and parading it all around like a badge of honor. The cruelty of it all is the point. Okay. I think that there might be some method to that madness, though. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here on all of these things. I'm doing a great job, as usual, of being devil's advocate here on all of these topics. We got Amanda saying, look at this child lover. And then you got the rest of the crew saying, fuck that guy. And then I have to navigate that. And then we have pro-ICE and we have anti-ICE. And here I am in all of it, flawless. Okay? I think that what I'm actually pulling off here is one of the greatest things that we will all witness, at least for the weekend. Let me get back to this. While you do see a lot of ICE people grabbing people off the street, it's dramatic. It sells. You got to understand. Have you ever heard of the term, if it bleeds, it leads in news? That applies here. Terrible footage of cars getting rammed and people blowing horns and ICE guys grabbing people off the street. It drives people to watch. There's money involved there. That's part of it. It could also be the people that are making the decisions to make sure that this happens. They may be thinking if bad people know, or people that aren't bad, who are law-abiding people, citizens, but are, well, I shouldn't say citizens, or people that are in here undocumented know this, that might make them, it make this an easier process. It might be a deterrent for people to not come into the country. As far as I know, what I've read is that there's not a lot of activity at the southern border. People trying to get into the U.S. now because of the way it is. I don't know. So what I'm trying to say there is maybe there's some benefit to this. Regarding Amanda rolling with the jokes that Ben and I were bombing her with when she was showing pedo grandpa. I think this is a fair response. Megan, I've had to deal with a lifetime of people giving me digs all the time, so I guess I'm just numb to it. And I actually give her credit. I'm doing a comedy show to some degree. Ben and Eric, she's showing pictures of grandpa. To me, that's a fertile environment for jokes. That's just how I deal with it. I mean, because what's the alternative? Make it awkward and say, I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think everybody needs to relax. Amanda look, she's she's one of a kind. Okay? She is not afraid to stand out and say what she says. She is not afraid of that in any way, and I've given her credit for that in the past. She pushes the envelope. She moves the meter when it comes to things that are discussable on the show, and I give her credit for that. And I can say ridiculously rude shit to her, and for the at the goal of getting a laugh, and she does roll with it. All right. My God, I've got a character that makes her sound like the most unpleasant person on the planet. Scott says, it was quiet. You just didn't see it, referring to how people were deported in other administrations. Stevie says, Amanda could have kept this information to herself and we would have never known. Why bring it up? Well, look, from a standpoint of talking about something or something provocative. So in the business that I'm in, if somebody is going to go and say, hey, here's my grandpa, he touched kids. As much as you might hate that, it's also a provocative thing to bring up. It's like, what the fuck? And from a talking thing, something to talk about standpoint, that is worthy, I guess, of like, hey, holy shit, are you really doing that? Piano Fingerbanger says the Obama numbers include people that were caught and turned away at the border. They do not count it that way anymore. Ben Glaze refers to me as King Eric. Easy. I agree with that. Amanda says, why do I bring anything up? It's the Amanda Show. Megan says, so you brought up something to get attention, something awful to get attention. Got it. But we should have empathy for your mom. Ike Humminspurt says, I'm of the belief news agencies don't really give a fuck about the people they cover. They just want the ratings, and that's for both left and right leaning news agencies. You, my friend, have it down. Do you think that a news agency or a TV network goes about their day saying, today our main priority is doing what's right for our fellow man? Negative. The number one job of any TV station, TV network, radio station, radio broadcast, podcast, Facebook video of two guys from England going across the Mackinac Bridge is to get people to watch. The more that watch, the more money it makes. Full stop. If they had the ability to draw viewership from people who are from the left and people who are from the right based on what they say or do, they would be the most happy with that. Like me, here I am doing this show live. The vast number of people that are watching right now, 38, I would say it's divided up fairly even as to what people believe. And the reason for that is because I'm great. Amanda says, forget I said anything and I'll never talk again. Well, that's a Kenny comment. You can't do that. Amanda now says, all right, I said I'll never talk again, but I kind of want to answer Megan's last point. You go ahead. The original story I told was that my mom's family had to deal with the fact that my grandpa was a closeted gay man, and that was my point. Eric was the one that turned it around and made it about the child porn conviction. Well, look, I mean, I literally, when I wake up every day, I'm like, what do I need to do something interesting, funny, compelling, or interesting? There's one of three things that I can do: funny, compelling, or interesting. And I basically wait on what things are presented to me, and then I go about my day. And that's it. And I can't control what comes at me. I can't control how I try to be interesting. It's always the same pattern every time. Bob says, fart onto the mic with major distortion applied. I can't do that anymore. First of all, it upsets Rick, and I don't want to do that. Second of all, my current setup doesn't have the ability to apply distortion. However, I would say this. If I suddenly gain that ability to apply the heavy distortion on fart, I might do it again and bring back Devil Fart Mike. Okay? I think we may, though, after yesterday and today's follow-up discussion, we might have exhausted any attempts to go through family albums of convicted child porno people. Okay? I don't think that is going to happen again. Well, I don't think it would have happened any other time. I think the only person who would ever say, hey, let's look at my family photos of my good-looking child porno-loving gay man grandpa, I think the only person who ever would attempt that would be Amanda. And that's why she's a content driver. All right? Bull in a china shop, and somebody who the audience may want to drop an elbow on from time to time. But I think we all as a group need to have that type of upsetting the apple cart. Do I want to sit around and look at pictures of pedos? No, not at all. Joe Martinez is back. Concerning the chat points, he's not interested. He'd rather just send me texts. He writes, fuck the points. Fuck that asshole who kissed clown ass. And then he writes, tell that dumb shit Obama didn't play the Gestapo card. Dumb shit. All right. Let me tell you, audience members, that I salute you, and I think you're all amazing. Everybody's got to relax. It's going to be okay. We just got a visitor from Bruce, who I have a story about him in a second. Rebecca says, you know it's bad when Joe Martinez is being serious and not shit-talking. Amanda says, I happen to have these photos out because I'm putting together a legacy box for my family with photos I have dating back to 1919. So let me ask you this. I guess one more question. First of all, I don't know what a legacy box is, but I'm guessing it's something that has pictures of family members. You can't, like, put family members of pedo grandpa on there, right? I mean, if you're going to have no problem with grandpa now that he's done his time, I don't know if it's a great idea to put together a family legacy box and have pedo paw on the box. I'm thinking that the rest of the family, which I think was kind of like the point of everybody in the chat's point, that it's okay that the other family members want to kick pedo grandpa's ass. I think that that's kind of where they were on it. They're like, God bless your family for wanting to beat that. You know, it's kind of like anybody who hurts a child needs to go to hell, and I agree with them. You know? So I don't know. I think if I'm you, I mean, if it were me, and I had pictures of pedo paw, I'd probably burn them. You know, or if you're gonna include pictures of pedo paw, you probably want to have him separate from everybody. You know, you want to have like all the other family members that aren't into children, and then he can have his own pedo box. Amanda says, for the record, he didn't touch children. Right. As far as we know, he just thought about it. And don't tell me there's people in here that haven't thought about sinning, just haven't done anything. That's a little murky. I don't want to go down the road and compare kid lust to anything else. You know? Let's just focus on the big picture here, and that is, for your own sake, I think you want to like keep him in his own isolated area, because I doubt anybody else wants to be associated with Grandpa, who's into looking at horrible pictures. Megan makes a great point, and everybody else is losing their mind with that comment that Amanda made. Okay, this is what I mean. She drives the content. Everybody here is going, what the fuck? And I can't disagree with them. I'm trying to play devil's advocate, but you're making it extremely difficult to do that. When you said, for the record, he didn't touch children, he just thought about it, and don't tell me there's people in here that haven't thought about sinning, just haven't done anything. That's a tough one to kind of navigate through. How am I supposed to put, a spin on this when you keep throwing these haymakers that are, it's like you're Dunkelman with a spoon digging your own hole, which is how that saying is. Give Brian Dunkelman a spoon, he'll dig his own hole. You don't have a spoon, you've got a backhoe. All right, that is Act 1 of the podcast. Act 2 is available right after this one. Go check it out. What are you doing? Don't miss a second of it. Thank you so much.